one last thing, if people want to know what staff positions are specific people, that information can be found in the memos folder on the public information drive. No, it's just staff positions. Any executive branch. Just see if anyone's interested, or let me think of the way to find out what people have been selected for staff positions. That information can be found on the public information folder in the memos folder. Is yeah. Can I get a time check? Okay, we'll start at 5:35. All right, Emmy, we're, I'm fine to start. Is everyone ready? Okay. The Senate will now come to order. The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Chief of Staff Kohler, followed by a moment of silence and reflection. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will call the roll. Please correct the pronunciation of your name if it is incorrect, and if you are proxying for somebody, please say proxy.
Barnes. Barr. Byer. Caradano Mendez. Cumby. Geddens. Gruner. Hopkins. Resto. Cassetti. Kay. LaPinta. Lapsley. Matthews. Miller. Morgan. Mazzo. Neves. Peterson. Sowell. Wenzel. And Windsor.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of March 13th, 2024 as found online? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line for general orders of the Senate, beginning with reports from Senate leadership. Speaker Pro Tempore Byer, you are recognized to give a report on the Rules Committee.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. So rules met for the first time yesterday at 6 p.m., but from now on we'll be meeting Sundays at 5:30. So make sure if you're submitting any legislation that it's in by Saturday at 5 p.m. Yesterday, Rules reviewed one piece of legislation and found it unanimously unfavorable. I yield my time to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields her time to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Academics Committee. Vice Chairwoman Cumby, you are recognized to speak.
Hey y'all, we met on Monday at 5:45 and we unanimously voted yes for the bill that we had to vote on, and then going forward we're going to meet from 4 to 5 on Mondays in the LSC. So if y'all need anything, just let us know. I yield my time for questions.
The Vice Chairwoman yields her time for questions. Are there any questions for the Vice Chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Chairman Wenzel, you are recognized to speak.
Hello, everyone. We met at 3:30 on last Friday. We elected Senator Matthews as our vice chair. We just kind of talk about expectations for the committee. We also just had brief introductions between each other, also with Matt Hines. Going forward, we'll be interviewing treasurer's staff positions. With that, I yield a question.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairman Gruner, you are recognized to speak.
Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Health and Safety met on Friday at 4:45. We got introduced and kind of categorized a bunch of different initiatives that we'd like to work on. We voted on SBL 11601 and found it unanimously favorable with a vote of 10-0. We elected our vice chair, who is now Isabel Miller, and the new meeting time as voted per the committee is now Thursdays at 6 p.m. I yield my time to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman?
Thank you.
Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Chairwoman Cassetti, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So we met just an hour before this from 4 to 5, and we found the legislation favorable. And then also our newly elected vice chair is Senator Bella Brosh, and our meeting times will be from now forth on Wednesdays at 4:30. So if you guys would like to join, please let us know. And thank you. Have a nice rest of the day.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Chairman Kay, you are recognized to speak.
Afternoon, everybody. Judiciary met at 12 o'clock on Friday. SBL 11584 and SBL 116-1 were both found unanimously favorable. And a big hearty congratulations to Isabel Miller, who was elected as our vice chair. I'll yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairman Neves, you are recognized.
Hey y'all, happy Wednesday. We voted on Bill 11601, which was found unanimously in favor. We also elected Senator Stone Pillsbury as our vice chair. I yield any remaining times to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Chairman Barnes, you are recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. Student Life met and will continue to meet on Mondays at 6 p.m. in the LSC. During our first meeting, we elected Senator Mozo as our vice chairwoman. We found SBL 11601 unanimously favorable and began working on our action plan for the term. We have a lot of ideas for the next couple of months, so I would encourage each senator willing to join. Outside of the committee, myself and Vice Chairwoman Mozo met this morning with Joseph O'Clair, the Associate Athletic Director of Marketing and Fan Experience. We had a super productive meeting and discussed various initiatives and ideas regarding game day transportation, student attendance at games, and other ways to enhance the athletic and student experience. Along with this, Mr. O'Clair asked if any senator was to write a piece of legislation regarding athletics to reach out to him prior to passing it. Speaker Hamilton has already prefaced this, but it is crucial to get their feedback and criticism on your ideas before letting it hit the Senate floor to ensure that your ideas are feasible and tangible. It strengthens our relationships with staff and creates opportunities for Senate and the entirety of student government as a whole to collaborate in the future with them. If anyone has any questions about what this looks like, feel free to ask me. I yield my time to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the freshman council. Are the representatives willing to give a report? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Chief Justice Buchmeyer, you are recognized. Oh, my mistake. We'll now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairwoman LaPinta, you are recognized.
Thank you. So sustainability met from 5 to 6 on Monday evening, which will now be our typical meeting time. And I'm more than excited to announce that our new vice chair will be Senator Gay. During our meeting, we voted on a piece of legislation which we found unanimously favorable and talked about action plans and ideas for legislation in the upcoming term. And you know, if anybody wants to join, I think that sustainability at our university is an incredibly important and prevalent in our everyday lives as students and as senators. It's our responsibility as representatives of a higher institute to hold ourselves to a higher standard of environmental protection, and that starts with recognizing sustainability as an integral part of our progress as a university. So last term, I served as vice chairwoman under previous chairman Hensley, and we were able to produce multiple pieces of tangible legislation, like encouraging green cert of student org-sponsored events and specifying the duties of the Deputy Secretary of Sustainability. I already have 2 projects in the works that are probably going to be coming up next semester that I'm super excited to be working on. So, like I said, if you have any questions or concerns about the committee, please ask. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Point of information, each committee has a quorum, and if that quorum minimum number is not met, we have to sit here until it does. So just keep that in mind during the motion period. Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Chief Justice Buchmeyer, you are once again recognized.
Had me scared there for a second. I wouldn't be able to come up here, but no report's going to be nothing to report. So with that, I yield to questions.
The Chief Justice yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief Justice? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank y'all.
We will now hear a report from the Speaker of the Senate, Maura Grace Hamilton. Chief of Staff Kohler, you are recognized.
Hey y'all, welcome back to our second Senate session. Just some quick updates for you. Today, Maura met with the Faculty Senate. Nothing of major importance yet, but some good introductory remarks, some good introductory discussions had. Just a couple reminders for y'all. Just make sure that y'all are dressing in business professional to these meetings. That looks like tie for guys, no sneakers. Girls, you know, just kind of pants, blazer, skirt, something along those lines. Also attendance. I sent out an email today, so hopefully you all saw it. That kind of details our attendance guidelines. I've had some questions about those within the past week, so I just kind of sent a comprehensive email that you guys can bookmark and look back on if you have any questions. As always, if there are any certain circumstances you're not sure where they fall, just email me and we'll work it out. Also, if y'all want to see who each of the exec staff picks are, that's in the memos folder on the public info drive. So yeah, if y'all want to take a look. And with that, I yield to questions.
The Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief of Staff? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the Student Body Treasurer. Treasurer Jacob Vaught, you are recognized.
All right, so here's a brief update from the Treasurer's Office. The Treasurer's workshop slides have been thoroughly updated and only require a few minor revisions, and then they'll be fully complete. The Treasurer's Handbook is currently a work in progress. I'd say it's sitting around 50%, so that should be completed fairly soon. And we have completed our initial rounds of interviews with our comptrollers, so we have sent them the email, so they should be ready for their second interview coming pretty soon. However, we still have 4 vacant seats for the comptroller role that we're aiming to fill. And we may in the future look to increase the seats for the comptrollers, as this year it will be a more hands-on experience with the student orgs to help alleviate some of the criticisms orgs had with the last administration. And to close off, we've also selected a Deputy Chief of Staff who will be sworn in today. And with that, I yield to questions.
Mr. Wisenet yields questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body vice president. Vice President Tax, you are recognized.
Hey everyone, so I'm really excited to announce that we do have a full staff. I'm also very excited to announce that I've nominated Patrick Kuhn and Emily Heater as the new freshman council directors. I did just want to let you guys know that they are abroad, so when you email them for the interviews, they will be abroad. But please let me know if you have any questions on those selections. I also sent a sign up for Swipe Out Hunger with the SEC Food Fight in the GroupMe. It's mandatory that you sign up for a time slot, donate a canned food item, or donate a meal swipe. And when you donate a meal swipe, that is one retail swipe from 1 week. It's not recurring, it's just one meal swipe. But you do not have to do all three. So if you do all three, great, fantastic, but you do not have to do all three. As for the logistics, the Carolina Card Office is going to be open those 2 weeks to be collecting swipes. Aramark and the Carolina Card Office both let us know that that's their preferred method, is to go and donate in person. I understand that it's very hard to make students go to a secondary location, so we will have the iPads to actually collect swipes during tabling, but if you guys are gonna donate a meal swipe, I ask that you do go donate it in person, just downstairs Russell. If you're not in the GroupMe that I just talked about, please check your position acceptance email or contact your chief of staff to add you. And then finally, we will be having a lunch and learn on April 19th with Bill Brown and the Association of Transfer Students to discuss how we can help them in the coming term. If you're interested in attending, please contact my chief of staff, Isabella Gonzalez. With that, I yield my time for questions.
The vice president yields her time to questions. Are there any questions for the vice president? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body president. President Byers, you are recognized.
Awesome. Well, I've had a couple meetings the past few days. So I had a great meeting with USC PD and athletics. I let USC know, or USC PD that it's a priority for me and student government to have pedestrian safe walking areas. And how that looks like, something that we're advocating for is LED lights on the ground, so that it will literally show you if when it's red, you should not walk, and green when you should. Just to make sure that students and anyone who's walking in the area, especially at night, who can't see things or see cars coming at them, it's a beneficial way for all parties involved. We're also looking into ways for USCPD and student government to partner on an awareness run on campus. And that awareness run is going to look mainly for a safe running route on campus to show students that there are places to run on campus even when it's dark outside that are near the safety boxes. So we're looking at different awesome ways for that to happen, ideally in the fall semester. We're also, I'm pushing for an accessible game day shuttle and also an after-hours shuttle. So we'll hopefully get some movement on that. And I will also have a separate meeting with the parking director as well with USCPD to talk about some of those changes that we can potentially have made. Regarding the athletics meeting, I talked to athletics about it is a priority for me and student government to have students get free water bottles in the student section. So hopefully we can get that done for students to ensure that all students are safe and hydrated during games, especially the games earlier on during the semester, especially the ones that are hotter when it's 95, 100 degrees outside. I also attended Faculty Senate with Maura as well today, and look forward to partnering with them throughout this year to work on a lot of different things that we can work with Faculty Senate on. I'm also excited to soon share the names that Speaker Hamilton will read with you, that my staff and my cabinet nominees as well. I'm truly confident in each and every single one of the cabinet nominees that will be sent your way. And I look forward to you meeting them as well, and I look forward to the process that you guys get to go through with them. And if you guys have questions about them or anything like that, please let me know or my office know. We're really excited for you guys to meet them. One exciting aspect of my staff as well that I want to touch on is that has never been done before is having a philanthropy for having co-philanthropy directors on staff. It is crucial for student government leaders that we actually serve our community. I think we can all agree on that. So these groups of leaders I have the utmost confidence in, and if you would like to join them in serving in our community, you can join the philanthropy team. So you can please reach out to do that, reaching out to Elizabeth Cole or Arliss Dawsey. I yield to questions.
The president yields to questions. Are there any questions for the president? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer concerning the creation of the staff positions Deputy Chief of Staff.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate regarding the appointment of staff positions clerk, legislative aide, and assistant clerk.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Vice President concerning the appointment and creation of staff positions Chief of Staff, Press Secretary, Director of Programming, Director of Outreach, Chief Advisor, Deputy Chief of Staff, and Internal Outreach Coordinator.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the appointment and creation of staff positions Chief of Staff, Press Secretary, Historian, Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs, Director of Internal Affairs, Director of Outreach, and Director of Special Events.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President requesting approval for additional staff positions, co-directors of philanthropy.
The question is of allowing the President's office to exceed the number of allocated staff positions to create co-directors of philanthropy. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The staff positions are created. Is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow the new staff members of the President's, Vice President's, Treasurer's, and Speaker's staff to come down and take their oaths of office? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly pledge to faithfully execute. The office of state your office. To abide by the student government constitution and codes. To uphold the Carolinian Creed. And to represent my constituents. To the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Is there a motion to reinstate the rules? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer concerning Chief Comptroller and Comptroller nominations, Chief Comptroller Eleanor McMakin, Comptrollers Kevin Donlin, Timothy George, Anushka Sharma, Benjamin Smith, Shreya Gandham, Aiden Farrell.
The nominees for Chief Comptroller and Comptrollers are referred to the Finance Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Vice President concerning the nomination of Freshman Council co-directors Patrick Kuhn and Emily Heater.
The nominees are referred to the Student Life Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Vice President concerning the nominations of Communications Director Morgan Poirier.
The nominee is referred to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning Cabinet Secretary and Deputy Secretary nominations. Division Secretary of Campus Wellness, Frankie Machia, Secretary of Government Relations, Emily Raban, Division Secretary of University Relations, Liam Chandler, Division Secretary of Justice, Ian Hurd, Division Secretary of Student Services, Spencer Barnwell, Deputy Secretary of Sustainability, Jack Kensley, Deputy Secretary of Health and Wellness, Noy Burrell, Deputy Secretary of Safety and Transportation, Siddhartha Malik, Deputy Secretary of Inclusion and Equity, Myron Harris, Deputy Secretary of Government Relations, Mary Grace Laborowski, Deputy Secretary of Disability Services, Carolyn Orr, Deputy Secretary of Greek Relations, Barry Clarkberg, Deputy Secretary of Athletics, Pearson Dillon, Deputy Secretary of Academics, Ansley Martin, Director of National Lobbying Agency, Lucy Dixon, Director of State Lobbying Agency, Emma Davison, Director of Local Lobbying Agency, Olivia Smeltzer, Director or Deputy Secretary of Community Relations, Bodie Daniel, Deputy Secretary of Religious Affairs, Karen Carmel.
The nominees are referred to the following committees. To the Academics Committee, Deputy Secretary of Academics. To the Health and Safety Committee, Division Secretary of Campus Wellness, Deputy Secretary of Health and Wellness, Deputy Secretary of Safety and Transportation, Deputy Secretary of Disability Services. To the Inclusion and Equity Committee, Deputy Secretary of Inclusion and Equity. To the Judiciary Committee, Secretary of Government Relations, Deputy Secretary of Government Relations, Division Secretary of Justice, Director of the National Lobbying Agency, Director of the State Lobbying Agency, Director of the Local Lobbying Agency. To the Powers and Responsibilities Committee, Secretary of Government Relations, Deputy Secretary of Government Relations, Director of the National Lobbying Agency, Director of the State Lobbying Agency, Director of the Local Lobbying Agency, and Deputy Secretary of Community Relations. To the Student Life Committee, Division Secretary of University Relations, Division Secretary of Student Services, Deputy Secretary of Disability Services, Deputy Secretary of Greek Relations, Deputy Secretary of Athletics, and Deputy Secretary of Religious Affairs. To the Sustainability Committee, Deputy Secretary of Sustainability. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning Elections Commissioner and Elections Commission. Elections Commissioner Sean Duty, Deputy Elections Commissioner Madison Hahn.
The nominees are referred to the Powers and Responsibilities and Judiciary Committees. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President requesting a 1-week extension for the following positions. Deputy Elections Commissioner.
The question is of a 1-week extension in the appointment of a Deputy Elections Commissioner. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The extension is granted. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
Application of Alexander Tyner and Amanda Blanton to be seated in the 116th Student Senate.
The applications are referred to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Seeing no more special orders of the Senate, we are now in the motion period. Are there any motions on the floor? Chairman Barnes? There's been a motion to add Chairman Barnes to the Sustainability Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Hopkins? There's been a motion to remove Senator Hopkins from the Judiciary Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Morgan? There's been a motion to remove Senator Morgan from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Morgan. The motion is to move SBL 116-2 onto the first reading calendar. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? We will now move to a voice vote. The clerk will call the roll. Chairman Kay? Is there a motion for a brief recess? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We found it unanimously unfavorable, so it's not on the calendar. chair requires 2/3. No. No, if it's deemed unfavorable by rules, it doesn't go to the calendar. No, you're fine. Do you know how many people you need to have it be 2/3? Camden. Can you call the quorum so we can do attendance again before? The Senate will come to order. Are there any motions on the floor? Chairman Kaye. The presence of quorum has been questioned. The clerk will call the roll. Just a reminder, if you're proxying for somebody, when their name is called, please say proxy.
Lauren Anderson. William Barnes. Timothy Barr. Natalia Byer. Caradano Mendez. Costello. Cumby. Gay. Geddens. Gruner. Hopkins. Resto. Cassetti. Kay. LaPinta. Lapsley. Matthews. Miller. Morgan. Mazzo. Neves. Peterson. Pillsbury. Rojas. Rongas. Sowell. Wenzel. Windsor.
Is there a motion for a brief recess to tabulate? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. All right, continuing on. The question is of introducing SBL 116-2 to the first reading calendar. This will be a roll call vote. The clerk shall read the roll.
Anderson. Barnes. Barr. Byer. Mendez. Costello. Cumby. Gay. Geddens. Gruner, Hopkins, Resto, Cassetti, Kay, LaPinta, Lapsley, Matthews, Miller, Morgan, Mozo, Neves, Peterson, Pillsbury, Rojas, Rongus, Sowell, Wenzel, Windsor.
Is there a motion for a brief recess to tabulate? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. By a vote of 24 nays to 3 yeas, the motion has failed. SBL 11602 will not be introduced to the first reading calendar. Are there any other motions on the floor? Vice Chairman Matthews. There's been a motion to add Vice Chairman Matthews to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Are there any other motions on the floor? All right, seeing no more motions, is there a motion to dispense with the motion period? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now on the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will read. Hearing none, that completes the call of new legislation. We are now on the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11580, introduced by Chairman Kay, a bill to establish expectations for executive presence and training.
Chairman Kay, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Afternoon, everybody. This bill was obviously a relic of the past session that got brought up just due to the way our legislation is kind of structured. What the bill effectively does is ensures that executive members, whether in their physical form or at least in spirit, intend to fulfill their obligations over summer hours. I'll yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. Since this legislation was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. We will now be moving to that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on with the call of uncontested legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 116-1, introduced by Chairman Wenzel, a bill to allocate funds for student government for the fiscal year 2024-2025.
Chairman Wenzel, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Hello, everyone. As discussed last week, pretty simple bill, just talking about budget allocations for internal budget for student government. With that, I yield the question.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on with the call of uncontested legislation, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, that completes the call of uncontested legislation. We are now on the call of contested legislation. The clerk will read. Seeing none, that completes the call of contested legislation. We are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Are there any announcements from the floor? Awesome. Hearing none, I have a quick announcement. Great job today, guys. This was our first 2 pieces of legislation, which is very exciting. And obviously, all of you got a chance to review this bill, the finance one specifically, during your committees. I hope you had a good time. If you have any questions, again, please always let me know. I will be sending a post-Senate email out about all the nominees that are referred to the different committees. Every committee has at least one that they do need to interview. That should be a fun process. I always loved doing interviews when I was a senator. Also, just a quick thing about proxies. The way it works is when you're proxying for somebody, when their name is called, you say proxy here. And then when their name is called during a vote, you would say proxy and then their vote. And you have to vote for them every single time when you're proxying. They fill out a form saying that you will represent them during Senate, and so you have to represent them during Senate. And then also, just as Emmy said, make sure that we're following business professional. We're showing up ties for guys, girls were wearing a dress, pantsuit, jacket and blazer, whatever it may be, no sneakers. And then also just keep in mind not to go on your phone during session. I can see you guys. I can see when you're on your phone. It's not very nice. We're here for not that long of a period of time. I'm on my phone. Y'all don't need to be on your phone either. So with that, I yield my time to questions. Seeing no questions. With no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, the Senate will now stand adjourned until Wednesday, April 10th, 2024.